talk about the kind of shifts that have happened over the last 10 or 15 years in our world. So our salespeople used to be out hunting whales. It was about a big, long sales process to score the most amount of licenses we could at the beginning. And we've moved to a land and expand model. Is that term familiar with people in the room? Land and expand? Okay, I'm going to talk more about that later. We've moved from a sales funnel, where we're progressing prospects down to a closed opportunity, to more of a revenue helix, where we land a customer and their success drives our success. Similarly, we've moved from a big deal size to the idea of the lifetime customer value, and that's what matters. So we've developed a model. It's based on LAER, L-A-E-R, land, adopt, expand, renew. So this is almost universally used in your sales organizations. Now, does anybody notice anything about this diagram? What's missing? How about the user? Like, where's your customer in this picture? The land and expand sales model is about our goals as a vendor. These are the things we want to do. We want to expand, we want to land and expand. So we've developed this model which overlays the journey of a buyer onto the goals of you as a vendor. So the buyer journey starts in the middle. You know, when they show up in your funnel, they're exploring, evaluating, buying, and driving adoption, demonstrating internal return on investment, and then becoming an advocate for your product. So now what we want is to get that buyer who was in their current state before into this beautiful green path where their goals are achieved and our goals are achieved. This is the way we want the buyer journey to look. And so I talk about this as an orbit. The customer is orbiting their old way of doing things. I sometimes call it the cycle of pain, or the orbit of the planet called the status quo. But when somebody comes to you to look at your product, they've actually made a decision to stop doing things the way they used to and try to lead their organization into a new way of doing things. And I call that escape velocity. It's a bit of it's the orbit analogy. And what we want them to do is just to continue around that green cycle, but unfortunately they don't always do that. And so at the customer acquisition time, which is the first part of this, where we're landing, there are two different ways that they can escape this new orbit. The first is off to the right, where they go orbit a competitor's planet. We lost that deal. They evaluated us and they went somewhere else. The other way we can lose a customer who comes into our potential orbit is that they crash back to the old planet called the status quo. This just fell below the budget line, or we didn't have people that we thought could do this, or our strategy changed. There are all sorts of reasons why an evaluation starts and then it crashes. So the two motifs there that I'm using are a crash and an escape. The second kind of escape, so it's great if we land them, but then if they continue along their journey and then they're not successful, they can leave us for two other kinds of reasons. So there, again, here are crashes and escape. So the first kind of crash is, okay, we went out, we looked at products, we bought yours, and then we tried a bunch of things, we were totally not successful, or the champion left, or our strategy changed, or you were terrible, or all sorts of reasons. And they experience this thing called failure. We call it failure to thrive. The other way they can leave you is that they can churn and, again, go do another competitor's orbit. When you are when you're doing your jobs, whether that's product management or UX or marketing and product development, I think you really care about these paths. These paths encompass the things that are driving decisions. These are like actual outcomes and decisions that are going to affect whether people choose your product or somebody else's, or go back to the way they used to do things, or as they go through their journey, they either succeed or they fail. So how can we use this model to start to understand how to drive things in our product roadmap, positioning, sales approach, strategy, and so on. And if we want to improve customer acquisition, we need to understand what factors are driving these, people to make decisions and head in these three different paths. But when we talk about renewal analysis and churn analysis, what we're talking about is journey and experience. And you can get so much great detail if you just set the table and let somebody talk about what their journey was and what made it successful, what was hard about it, how did they overcome that, or how did we not help them. And so churn analysis and churn exit interviews are crucial input here.